coming on today. As always, I try to keep these things pretty quick and to the point. I will be recording this on YouTube, so you can certainly rewatch it later on. But really the focus of today is to go through the different types of marketing tools LinkedIn offers you, to obviously get in front of more clients and potential clients. So let's just kind of review the basics right off the bat. Really with LinkedIn, there's 3 keys to being successful. And we've talked about this in the past, but I want to reiterate its importance. The first one is the most important. You have to make sure that your profile is set up to convert people to become clients. Let's just kind of go with that type of mentality. So what does that mean? What that means is that you really should take the extra time, go in, make sure that you've completed the profile as best you can, that you have a summary section that really reviews who you are, how you help people, how they can request your help, right? 2, you want to have a good background on where you were educated, where you've worked in the past. 1, that brings credibility, but 2, it also allows you to potentially connect in with those people sharing similar education and similar job experience. And then 3, you really want to make sure that if you are blogging, if you have some skills and expertise, that certainly those are listed and they start to grow and certainly bring credibility. So as I've always mentioned, really before you can get aggressive marketing on LinkedIn, you got to make sure that you're set up correctly. The second thing becomes pretty important as well is LinkedIn is very much like a database. So what does that mean? What that means is as you're connecting with these people, it's almost like you're getting a new data. It's almost like you're getting a new client. And when you get a new client, I'm sure you put them into your CRM system, right? With their contact info, with the information about them. Well, the same can be said on LinkedIn. When you're connecting, you want to make sure you're going in and you're organizing those people within LinkedIn so that moving forward, when you do use some of the marketing tools, it becomes very efficient to do so. And that's probably the #1 thing that insurance agents struggle with is they don't organize their connections. And then they hear one of these webinars or something, they try to go in and execute, and they're unable to. So that's really the second most important tip. And then obviously what we're talking about today is being able to actually market to your database, to your different connections. And what I'm going to go through are these 3 ways to do that. So we talked about sending what's called an introduction message a few weeks ago. I'll go through that again in a few minutes. That's the first way you can market. The second way is through just a traditional one-on-one LinkedIn message or mail. We'll go through that. And then finally, you have the ability to do what's called a mass message to up to 50 connections at once. We'll finally go through that. So the introduction message, I did a webinar about 8 weeks ago. And believe it or not, I got an incredible amount of feedback back from you guys saying that you got a lot of results with this. So let me kind of give you the 2-minute version of the 10-minute webinar. Basically what I was saying is that on LinkedIn, you're constantly connecting with people. And you should know by now that if you go to connections and you click keep in touch, you know what? I don't know what I'm telling you. I'm sorry. If you click connections and you click add connections, sorry, it's Friday, and you click any email, you have the ability to easily invite anybody you want to connect with you. All you need is their email address, right? So you can just type it in right here and send off an invitation very quickly and efficiently. So what I'm getting at is eventually these people are going to accept your connections. They're going to accept it, and that should trigger something on your end. And what I was trying to explain a few weeks ago is this is a perfect time to send kind of what I would call an introduction message to this new connection. So here's an example. Okay, I always like to try to give scenarios. You've just gone out to lunch with a business owner. They own a company of about 15 employees, and let's say they're considering you for some commercial coverage, and they're considering you for maybe employee benefits. Okay? You've gone out to lunch with them. They were kind of referred to you, et cetera, et cetera. So the guy gives you his business card. Okay? He gives you his business card. What I would do is I would not put it in my Rolodex. I don't have a Rolodex. What I would do is I would go onto LinkedIn, and I would type in that gentleman's business email address right into here. And most likely, if you've just had lunch with him, he is going to accept your invitation to connect. Again, you want to have your profile looking really professional because it's like a resume. You've just had lunch with him. Now he's coming on. He's taking a look at your profile. He's impressed. But more importantly, once he has requested to connect with you, that should trigger you. And let me rewind. You will get a little notification up here in the flag area that kind of says, oh, Bob Smith, he accepted your connection. So you can easily then click on this little flag area. And let's see if I have one. I may not. I mean, I have so much stuff going on in my profile. Got to be one here somewhere, right? Let's see. Okay, so here's an example. This is Stephen Miller. It says he's now a connection. So all you'd have to do is click on that and then click on send message, okay? And what I was saying a few weeks ago was that you should have a pre-written message saved on your computer because, again, guys, we're all working. We have jobs. We don't have time to be fooling around with this stuff and spending 10 minutes, trying to send the guy a message. Realistically, this should be a 15-second operation. So you've connected with the guy. You get an alert on LinkedIn. Bob is now a connection. You should then go to your desktop, and maybe on Microsoft Word you have it saved. And maybe it's just like 2 or 3 sentences that says, hey, thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. I really appreciate, you taking the time to look at my profile. And by the way, we specialize in commercial insurance, employee benefits, and a whole lot more, in Denver, Colorado. If you ever need anything or have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And of course, always put your phone number. And my point is you take that and you just kind of paste it into the message, and boom, it's sent off. Now, the point of it is to be done quickly and efficiently. And I think the reality, and like I said, I've got a lot of tremendous feedback back from people, is that there's probably a 98% chance that that guy you just connected with, he's absolutely reading that message. And he's absolutely going to take a much deeper look at your profile now. Because, again, the whole reason we want to do this stuff is people are really fascinated by LinkedIn. Nobody really, well, I know, and I know a few of you guys know, but a lot of people know that there's results to be had with it, and they're fascinated by it, and they're always kind of trying to figure out, hey, how do I become an advanced user? So my point is that you're going to get read, you're going to get paid attention to, and you definitely want to try to utilize this to your advantage. And that's the whole reason we're even talking today about LinkedIn, is that there's a lot of people paying attention to it. There's a lot of potential. So my point is you need to create a system where every time you're connecting with somebody, boom, they get a, thanks for connecting LinkedIn message, okay? Again, it should take 15 to 20 seconds for the whole process to happen. And, if you're doing it correctly, you're sending out 1 or 2 of these a day. And it's just, it's no different than, something that maybe you used to send out in the mail. It's evolved to this. So that's number one. That is the number one way that you can market through LinkedIn. The second way is again kind of similar, where you have the ability to go into LinkedIn, and if you click on connections, it'll pull up all the people you're connected with. And then certainly all you have to do is pull up the person. Let's use this Danny Mathis as an example, and click on the message tab. And you have the ability to send that person, we'll call it a message or an email. Now, the most common question I get is well, wait a minute, Ken. Why can't I just go on to Outlook or my iPhone and send Danny a normal email? Why do I have to go into LinkedIn, find where I'm connected to him, and send him this message? And that's a good point. You bring up a good point. And the answer I have is it's just kind of about the statistics. And the statistics tell me that if I send Danny a traditional email, I got about a 50% chance that he's going to read it. And, I mean, really read it, not just skim it. But if I send him the same type of thing on LinkedIn, I got about an 80% chance he's going to read it. People say, well, where do you come up with those statistics? I come up with those statistics just by using LinkedIn for the last 10 years and sending out literally hundreds of thousands of these messages. Make no mistake, I've tried it on email. I'll do whatever it takes, to become successful with this. But I think the key is I'm always trying to play the odds, because time is money, right? And we need to play the odds that tell us what's the most efficient way to get to our end goal. And right now, I'm telling you that LinkedIn, sending a message via that is much more likely to get read than sending a traditional email. And the reason is very simple. People are getting more email than they can mentally process. And, obviously some of it's good, some of it's junk, whatever. And when you send a message via LinkedIn, it stands out to that person. They get obviously it goes to their email, but it says you've received a LinkedIn message from your connection, Ken French. People immediately, again, they're fascinated with LinkedIn, and they start to think, well, wait a minute. Maybe this is really important. What does this guy want? I'm connected to him on LinkedIn. Who knows what he wants? Maybe he's offering me referrals. Oh, my gosh, I better read it. So my point is a lot of that is irrelevant. But as salesmen, we need to comprehend that, use it to our advantage, I guess is my point. So the second way is very similar to the third way, which is not only can you send a message to one person, but you can actually send a message to 50 people at once. And as I mentioned early in the presentation, the second most important thing to do on LinkedIn is to make sure that your connections are organized, that they have been what's called tagged into different folders, because that is going to become a key point in sending out the mass message. So if I go back into my LinkedIn profile here, and I clicked on connections, you'll see that there's a little filter box. And if I click on that, you'll see the second thing there is tag. Think of the word tag as put in a folder. Okay, so if I click on tag, it pulls up all of my folders. So let me pull up the folder long-term care potential clients. Okay, and what it'll do is it'll pull up all of the clients that I've put in here that I think are long-term care potential. And I have the ability to select that folder, to click the Select All tab, and then to click the Message button. And what, again, it's going to allow me to do is send a message to all those people at once, right? It puts them all in here. I can then type my message in. So realistically for you guys, what I'm getting at is it makes a lot of sense to, when you connect with somebody, to tag them, to put them in a specific folder where they're organized by some sort of means that you want to market to them, or by some way that you can identify them. Because let's face it, if we're marketing long-term care, we don't really want to be sending it to, Billy Smith, who's 25 years old. We want to send it to people who are in that targeted age range. And the same can be said for auto insurance or employee benefits or whatever we're trying to market. So my point is that anyone who's really good at marketing knows that it's always about how targeted can you make the message. So if you can get your connections, target them, put them in these specific folders, and then come up with a message that's designed specifically for those types of people, well, of course, your conversions are going to increase. But again, and guys, I apologize if I'm rambling on here, but again, it always comes back to how quickly can you execute these things. And, that's the problem. A lot of my clients will say, look, I went into LinkedIn, I did everything you told me to do, and I did get 4 leads. Okay, I got 4 leads, Ken, in one day. Problem is it took me 7 hours to do everything you told me to do. And those 4 leads are only going to, so 7 hours at $150 an hour, that's $1,200 of my time. Those 4 leads are only going to generate me, $900 for the year, maybe. So I lost $300 of my time. That's the way you actually have to start thinking about this social media stuff is time management value. But my point is that the key is to be able to always be on top and to always be, spending as minimal amount of time as possible with it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, it really is important to go through and follow the instructions I try to give you each week, to set these things up, and then to be diligent on a weekly basis, keeping up with everything, because in the end, it's going to equal more money in your pocket. It absolutely is. Whereas if you never have done anything, and then you try to get something executed, it may take 7 hours. Whereas, that 7 hours I came up with over the last 3 years of just putting in 40 seconds a day. So, kind of, just to kind of summarize, why should we even really bother about this? I think it's pretty obvious. I'm kind of a historian on marketing, especially in the insurance industry. And as we think back to the history of the insurance industry, we think about how sales were made. Back in the, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, knocking on doors was pretty acceptable, right? Then cold calling became the big way to get new clients. Then it was sending out stuff in the mail. And I kind of chuckle because think about when you go to the mailbox today and you pull out the mail. How many things are you not even going to open, right? I mean, let's face it. There's probably 3 or 4 that go right in the trash. Then it became email marketing. Now it's social media marketing. It's no different. And I think once you start to accept that, hey, this is just the evolution of everything I've always been doing, which is trying to talk to people, you're going to be on the right track and you're going to move forward in the right direction. So guys, hopefully this